is a chilling phenomenon that haunts the minds of those who dare explore the boundaries between the known and the unknown. It begins with a seemingly innocent discovery. A monkey on a remote island learns a new behaviour, perhaps washing food in the ocean before eating it. At first, it's a solitary act, unremarkable, until something terrifying happens. As more monkeys observe this behaviour, they too adopt it, until one day, a mysterious threshold is crossed. When the number of monkeys practicing the behaviour reaches a certain point, around 100, the change begins to spread, not just among the monkeys on that island, but across the entire archipelago. It's as if an invisible thread links them all, transmitting the new behaviour without explanation, defying logic and reaching groups that have never encountered one another. But that's not all. The 100th monkey effect goes deeper, darker. Those who study it whisper that once this critical mass is reached, the new idea or behaviour doesn't just spread, it infects the very consciousness of the entire species. The behaviour becomes universal, and with it, something more ominous. Some claim that this event taps into a collective mind, an eerie hive consciousness, where knowledge, ideas, and even emotions can spread without direct contact. What if the effect isn't just for monkeys? What if it could extend beyond animals? What if once a critical number of minds, humans even, align in thought, the ripple effects could reach across the globe? And what would happen if the collective mind, once awakened, could turn its power against us? In the shadowed annals of maritime lore lies the chilling tale of the floating coffin of Charles Coghlan, a legend as haunting as the sea that carried it. Charles Coghlan, a celebrated actor born on Prince Edward Island, Canada, met his end far from home on November the 27th, 1899 in Galveston, Texas. His body was interred in a stately vault in Lakeview Cemetery, where it was thought to rest in peace. But the sea had other plans. The following year, in September 1900, the infamous Galveston hurricane struck with apocalyptic fury. Winds howled like banshees, and the surging waves claimed thousands of lives, including the dead already buried in the earth. Among the storm's grisly victims was Coghlan's coffin, torn from its resting place and cast into the raging Gulf waters. For years, nothing was heard of the coffin's fate until a tale began to emerge. One whispered with disbelief and dread. According to legend, the coffin, guided by some unseen hand, or perhaps by Coghlan's unfulfilled yearning for home, drifted through the Gulf of Mexico, up the Atlantic coast, and across the icy waters, eventually washing ashore on the rugged shores of Prince Edward Island. There, it was said, his remains were laid to rest at last in the land of his birth, completing a ghostly journey of thousands of miles. Though modern accounts debunk the fantastical end of the legend, claiming his coffin was discovered in 1907, partially submerged in a marsh just 9 miles from Galveston, the eerie myth endures. Ripley's Believe It or Not immortalised the story in 1929, solidifying its place in folklore. Even now, the tale of Charles Coghlan's floating coffin remains a ghostly reminder of nature's wrath and the strange forces that seem to guide the dead. Whispers linger of his spirit still haunting the restless seas, a man forever tethered to the tides that carried him home. Tonight's story takes us to the mysterious legend of the Bunny Man, a figure lurking in the shadows with an axe in hand. Close your eyes, relax, and let this eerie tale drift you to sleep. The Bunny Man is an eerie urban legend that took root in Fairfax County, Virginia in 1970 and has since spread across the Washington, D.C. area. The story has been retold in many forms, but the core of the legend centres around a mysterious figure dressed in a rabbit costume, referred to as the Bunny Man, who reportedly terrorises people with an axe. The legend is said to have originated from two strange incidents. The first took place in October 1970, when a young couple parked their car near a secluded area to talk. Suddenly, a man in a bunny suit appeared out of nowhere, wielding an axe. He angrily yelled at them about trespassing on his property before smashing the car window with the axe. Fortunately, the couple was able to drive away unharmed, but the encounter left them shaken. The second incident occurred just 10 days later. A security guard noticed a man dressed in a similar rabbit costume standing on the porch of a newly built home. The Bunny Man allegedly began hacking away at the structure with an axe, yelling that the house was built on his land. By the time authorities arrived, the Bunny Man had vanished, leaving behind a scene of destruction and confusion. From these two reports, the legend of the Bunny Man grew, and with it, many variations began to emerge. Some versions of the tale claim that the Bunny Man is the ghost of an escaped mental patient who had a psychotic break and now haunts the area, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. Others suggest that the Bunny Man is still alive, lurking in the woods of Virginia, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. The most notorious version of the legend involves the Bunny Man Bridge, a secluded railway overpass near Clifton, Virginia. According to some, this bridge is where the Bunny Man is most likely to appear, especially on Halloween night. Witnesses have claimed to hear strange noises or even see the shadowy figure of the Bunny Man wielding his infamous axe. While there is no solid evidence to prove the existence of the Bunny Man, the legend has persisted for decades, fueling local folklore and unsettling the imaginations of those who dare to explore the areas where the Bunny Man is said to roam. Along the mist-shrouded waters of Wyoming's Platte River, locals whisper of a spectral vessel that has haunted the river for centuries. Known as the Death Ship of the Platte River, this ghostly apparition appears suddenly, cutting through the fog with an unnatural silence that chills even the bravest souls who witness it. Those who have seen it claim it's no ordinary ship, but a cursed harbinger of doom, a warning of death for those unfortunate enough to catch a glimpse of its decaying masts and spectral crew. The ship is said to be a battered, ancient vessel, its once proud sails now tattered and hanging limply, though no wind stirs them. The entire ship glows with an eerie, grey light, casting an unnatural pallor over the river as it moves silently, with no sign of rippling water to mark its path. Its wooden hull appears worn and rotting, covered in strange mosses and barnacles, yet it glides as if untouched by time. Witnesses recount that the ghostly ship seems to be staffed by a crew of shadowy figures, barely distinguishable from the mist that clings to the riverbanks. These phantom sailors stand deathly still, their hollow eyes staring blankly ahead, as though seeing a world beyond the living. The sight of them is enough to paralyze anyone who dares to watch, their forms flickering like candle flames in the fog, silent, yet filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. According to legend, stories tell of pioneers and river travellers who encountered the ghostly vessel and soon after met tragic ends. One tale describes a fisherman who spotted the ship gliding down the river on a foggy morning. Mesmerised, he watched as one of the ghostly sailors extended a bony hand and pointed directly at him. Within days the man fell ill, his life draining away under mysterious circumstances. Another chilling account recalls a young couple who were boating on the river at dusk when the ship emerged from the fog. They watched in horror as the crew seemed to look straight through them, their empty eyes filled with a cold indifference to the living. Days later, the couple's bodies were discovered on the riverbank, their boat overturned, and no explanation for their sudden deaths. The death ship of the Platte River is no mere phantom tale. Locals swear by its appearances, warning travellers not to linger by the river when the fog thickens, especially near Alcova and Torrington. It's a grim reminder that some spirits do not rest, and that some waters are forever cursed. The ship drifts onward, a harbinger of death, carrying the souls of its doomed crew, forever bound to the Platte's dark, winding course. In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone, like an ominous scar, is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Buck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Buck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared. A single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it. Attempts to scrub it away only seemed to deepen the impression, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Buck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Buck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Buck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. Tonight, we venture into the forests of North America to explore the legendary tale of Bigfoot. this mysterious story of the elusive creature guide you gently into sleep. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is one of the most well-known and enduring legends in North American folklore. Described as an ape-like creature, Bigfoot is said to inhabit the dense forests and remote wilderness areas across the continent, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. Sightings of the elusive creature date back centuries, with Native American tribes sharing stories of a large, hairy being that roamed the forests. The modern legend of Bigfoot gained widespread attention in the mid-20th century when numerous reports of sightings began to surface. Witnesses described the creature as standing anywhere between 6 and 9 feet tall, covered in dark fur with massive footprints, hence the name Bigfoot. It is often depicted as a shy, reclusive being that avoids human contact, yet its occasional sightings and the discovery of large footprints in remote areas have kept the legend alive. The most famous piece of supposed evidence is the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, which claims to capture footage of a Bigfoot walking through a forest in California. Though the authenticity of the film has been widely debated, it remains an iconic part of Bigfoot lore. Despite countless expeditions, no concrete scientific proof of Bigfoot's existence has ever been found. Skeptics argue that sightings can be explained by misidentifications of known animals or hoaxes, while believers insist that the creature remains undiscovered due to its remote habitat and elusive nature. Whether real or a product of imagination, Bigfoot continues to captivate people's curiosity. The legend has become ingrained in popular culture, inspiring books, movies, and documentaries. While evidence may be lacking, the mystery of Bigfoot endures, keeping the folklore alive and fueling the imaginations of those who believe that something extraordinary still roams the forests of North America. Let's drift into the eerie whispers of Eastern Europe, where a mysterious black car roamed the streets, haunting, silent, and deadly. Welcome to the legend of the Black Volga. The Black Volga is an urban legend that circulated in Eastern Europe, especially during the 1960s and 1970s. It centres around a mysterious black Volga limousine that was allegedly used to abduct people, particularly children. According to the legend, the car would appear suddenly on quiet streets, driven by unknown figures, often described as government agents, priests, or even supernatural beings like vampires or the devil himself. The rumours varied from region to region, but one constant remained. Anyone who saw the Black Volga or came too close to it would disappear without a trace. In some versions, the victims were taken for organ harvesting, while others claimed they were used in bizarre occult rituals. Children were the most common targets, vanishing after being approached by the ominous vehicle, leading to widespread fear among parents. Some believed the kidnappings were part of a larger government conspiracy, while others suspected that foreign powers or even secret societies were behind the abductions. The vehicle itself, typically a black Volga, Gazi 21 or Gazi 24, became synonymous with fear. The dark windows, the eerie silence as it moved, and the inability to identify the driver or passengers added to the sense of dread. In some accounts, the Volga had red curtains, horns, person goes missing and the car was blamed. Over time, the story evolved and spread beyond Eastern Europe, becoming part of a broader tapestry of urban legends. Though the panic surrounding the Black Volga has faded, it remains a chilling reminder of how fear can drive communities to believe in the darkest of tales. In the shadow-laden landscape of American folklore, few tales evoke the chill of the Crybaby Bridge. Across the United States, numerous bridges bear this macabre nickname, each story rooted in a haunting event so sorrowful that the echoes seem to transcend time itself. These structures, often decrepit and isolated, are united by the eerie phenomenon of phantom infant wails that pierce the stillness of the night. One such bridge looms on the outskirts of a small, weathered town, cloaked in the thick mists that rise from the river below. Local legend has it that many decades ago, a young mother, driven by despair and madness, threw her newborn child from the bridge into the icy waters beneath. They say she was consumed by grief and torment over her deed, and that her wails mingled with those of her child in a symphony of anguish. Overcome by remorse, she leapt to her own death, hoping in vain to join her child in the depths. Since that fateful night, those who dare to walk the bridge after dark report hearing the harrowing sounds of a baby's cries, so real and so close that they turn in desperation, searching for the child they can never find. Some also hear the ghostly lament of the mother, a mournful wail that drifts across the river and settles like a cold shroud upon the hearts of the listeners. The Crybaby Bridge has become a rite of passage for the local youth, a test of courage or foolhardiness. Teenagers gather in hushed groups, their voices low, as they dare one another to cross the bridge at midnight. Armed only with flashlights that cast long, ominous shadows, they step onto the creaking wood, each plank groaning under the weight of the grim history it bears. As they reach the centre, where the river runs darkest, the cries begin. At first, a soft whimpering, it soon swells into a crescendo of screams, so visceral that many flee in terror, swearing never to return. Others speak of seeing a spectral figure of a woman, her gown flowing and pale in the moonlight, her arms reaching out for the child she will never hold again. Cameras and phones, intended to capture proof, inexplicably fail, leaving only the memories of those haunted by what they have experienced. The Crybaby Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the past's grip on the present, its story passed down through generations as a chilling warning. It is a place where the boundary between this world and the next is thin, where sorrow and tragedy are etched into the very landscape, and the cries of the lost are never far from earshot. The elevator game is not for the faint of heart. This eerie ritual, which originated on a Japanese forum in 2008, promises to transport players to an alternate world if they follow its chilling steps precisely. But those who play it know the risks. A journey that may lead them somewhere they can never return from, with a sinister presence haunting their every step. The rules are deceptively simple. Enter an empty building with at least 10 floors and step into the elevator alone. Press a specific sequence of buttons, 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, and 5, and upon reaching the 5th floor, something unsettling is said to happen. The door may open, revealing a mysterious woman standing there, dressed in shadows and staring straight ahead, ignoring the player. Legends warn never to look at her, speak to her, or acknowledge her presence, for she is not human. Those who break this rule have reportedly vanished without a trace, drawn into her icy, haunting gaze. If the ritual continues correctly, pressing the 1st floor should cause the elevator to ascend to the 10th floor instead, defying the commands. When the doors open, players will find themselves in a world both familiar and unsettlingly different, a barren, dark version of their own reality, empty and silent. Outside, a red cross glows ominously in the distance, casting an eerie light over a desolate landscape. They say if you step out here, you may become trapped, lost in this strange dimension, never to return. To return to the real world, the player must repeat the same button sequence, resisting the urge to look at the woman if she reappears. But the game is dangerous. Many who claim to have survived report feeling watched, plagued by shadows and strange figures following them long after they leave the elevator. The elevator game is not just a harmless superstition, but a doorway into darkness, a ritual that blurs the line between worlds and calls forth a presence that seems to lurk in the shadows. And for those who dare to play, one warning remains. Once you enter, you may never find your way back. Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of North America. Its name is derived from Cadboro Bay, a coastal area in Greater Victoria, British Columbia, where it has reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature adds to the mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet no definitive physical evidence has ever been produced to confirm its existence. The creature is usually reported to move with great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that Caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be Caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. In the chilling depths of Staten Island's folklore, a sinister figure known as Cropsey stalks the nightmares of those who dare to whisper his name. Originally conceived as a boogeyman to scare children into obedience, Cropsey evolved into a far more horrifying reality, merging with the true crimes of a man named Andre Rand, whose deeds during the 1970s and 1980s turned him into a living embodiment of the legend. The tale of Cropsey began as a ghost story, one that parents recounted during hushed evenings, a spectral figure lurking in the shadows of the woods, preying on wayward children who strayed too far from home. Descriptions varied, but all agreed on his ghastly demeanour, a disfigured face, haunting eyes, and a hook for a hand, dragging behind him the echoes of chains he rattled, a warning in the wind. As the urban legend grew, so did Cropsey's malevolence. He was said to reside in the ruins of the abandoned Willowbrook State School, a place already steeped in dark history due to its controversial past, as a residence for children with disabilities, subjected to horrendous conditions. Here, Cropsey found his sinister refuge, emerging under the cloak of night to chase the echoes of laughter with a hunter's glee. But the line between myth and reality blurred horrifically when children in Staten Island began to disappear in the 1970s and 80s. Panic gripped the community as the legend of Cropsey seemed to come alive. And then came Andre Rand, a former employee of the Willowbrook State School. When he was arrested in connection with the disappearances, the people of Staten Island were aghast to find that their boogeyman had taken human form. Rand was convicted of kidnapping, and the community was forced to confront the terrifying possibility that Cropsey was not just a tale to frighten children, but a real predator walking among them. Each trial brought more attention to the legend, each disappearance a grim chapter added to the lore. Today, the story of Cropsey remains a macabre token of Staten Island's history. The dilapidated structures of Willowbrook still stand, overgrown and forsaken, yet pulsing with the dark heartbeat of past atrocities. Those who venture near claim to feel a chilling presence, hear the faint rattle of chains, or see a shadow dart between the trees. Cropsey has transcended his origins as a mere boogeyman to become a symbol of real-life horrors, a cautionary tale that warns of the monsters that may dwell not just in our stories, but in the very heart of our communities. In the dead of night, where shadows converge and fear festers, the legend of the clown doll terrorizes those who dare recall it. An eerie twist on the age-old tale of the babysitter and the man upstairs. This sinister story winds its icy fingers around the spine of suburban legend. It began innocuously enough, an ordinary evening with a teenage babysitter named Sophie, tasked with watching two young children in a sprawling old house at the edge of town. The parents had gone out for a rare night on the town, leaving Sophie in charge, the TV the only light flickering against the growing darkness outside. As the night wore on, Sophie put the children to bed and settled into the living room to await the parents' return. It was then she noticed a clown doll sitting in a rocking chair across the room. Its painted face was frozen in a too-wide grin, eyes glassy and unblinking, staring directly at her with an intensity that prickled the back of her neck. She tried to dismiss it as just another odd toy, but its eerie presence filled the room with an oppressive air. Unease twisted into dread when she received a phone call from the children's father, checking in. Mentioning the clown doll to him, she joked nervously about how creepy it was. Silence stretched on the line for father's voice, now tense and urgent, pierced the quiet. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "Take the children and go to the neighbour's house immediately. We don't have a clown doll." The line clicked dead as panic surged through Sophie. Seized by terror, she raced upstairs to the children's room, her heart hammering in her chest. Bursting through the door, she found the children sleeping soundly, unaware of the nightmare unfolding. Without a moment to spare, she bundled them up and fled into the night, the cold air biting at her skin. Police arrived at the scene to a gruesome discovery. The doll was no toy, but a murderer dressed as a clown, hidden in plain sight among the children's toys. The house's back door showed signs of forced entry. The intruder had been inside all along, his disguise part of a macabre plan. This harrowing incident spiralled into an urban legend, whispered at sleepovers and retold at Halloween, a cautionary tale of the sinister lurking in unsuspecting places. To this day, the story of the clown doll serves as a chilling reminder that not all is as it seems, and sometimes the true monsters wear the faces of our deepest fears. In the chilling lore of baseball history, there is one story whispered among fans that never loses its grip: the curse of the Bambino. The legend began in 1919 when the Boston Red Sox, champions of the World Series, made a grave mistake that would doom them for nearly a century. Seeking funds, the team's owner, Harry Frazee, sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to their bitter rivals, the New York Yankees. Known as the Bambino, Ruth was not only Boston's greatest asset, but a force that seemed blessed, touched by an otherworldly power. But this sale was no ordinary transaction. It was a betrayal, an offence to the very spirit of victory. Soon after, Boston's golden age faded. For the next 86 years, as Babe Ruth's star rose with the Yankees, the Red Sox were plagued with failure after failure, each season bringing cruel heartbreak. Fans began to believe they were cursed, haunted by Ruth's ghost, vengeful and unrelenting. They whispered that he had cursed the team, binding them to an endless cycle of defeat, an eternal punishment for the betrayal. The curse of the Bambino was born, and the city felt the shadow of dread every time their team reached the brink of victory, only to be torn down as if by some unseen, malicious hand. Terrifyingly, the curse seemed to manifest in bizarre ways. Balls veered off course at the last second. Players fumbled as if gripped by an invisible force. Even the stadium lights flickered ominously during critical moments. Fans watched with growing unease, knowing something dark loomed over their team. Game after game, year after year, hope turned to horror, then despair, as Boston's beloved team fell to seemingly supernatural misfortune. But in 2004, the impossible happened. The Red Sox, against all odds, won the World Series, breaking the curse. The city rejoiced, yet some fans remained haunted. They wondered, did they truly break the curse, or merely awaken it? Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Black Aggie, a haunting statue once feared for its supernatural powers. Relax, settle in, and let this eerie tale gently guide you to sleep. Black Aggie is an eerie urban legend centred around a mysterious statue that once stood at the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery, Pikesville, Maryland. The statue, a sombre figure draped in a cloak, resembled the well-known sculpture Grief by Augustus St. Gaudens. However, over time, Black Aggie became infamous for the supernatural tales that surrounded it. According to local law, strange and unsettling events began to occur after the statue was placed in the cemetery. People claimed that Aggie's eyes would glow red at night, and that anyone who looked into them would be struck blind or cursed. Another part of the legend states that if someone sat on Aggie's lap at midnight, they would either die within a year or be haunted by the statue. It was also rumoured that the shadow of Black Aggie would cause nearby grass to wither and die. Due to the growing number of ghostly tales and instances of vandalism, Black Aggie became a focal point for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many visited the statue either to test the legend or to experience the supernatural aura that surrounded it. The stories grew, further embedding Black Aggie into Maryland's folklore. Eventually, the statue was removed from the cemetery in 1967 to put an end to the disturbances it caused. Though the statue itself is gone, the legend of Black Aggie continues to captivate imaginations, with people still sharing stories of the haunted statue and the eerie events that took place in Druid Ridge Cemetery. Frozen winter of February 1855, the people of East and South Devon awoke to a scene that would haunt them for years. As dawn broke, a trail of strange, unearthly footprints marred the fresh snow, weaving through the landscape with an unnatural precision. These prints, soon to be called the Devil's Footprints, left a mark of terror and mystery across Devon, as villagers whispered tales of the devil himself stalking their lands. The footprints were unlike anything seen before. They stretched in a single line, each print spaced with eerie regularity, each one an unmistakable hoof shape, cloven and pointed, as if made by a creature far from this world. Stranger still, the prints were measured precisely 8 inches apart, suggesting a creature that moved with unerring speed and purpose. They crossed through fields, over rivers, and even appeared on rooftops, ignoring natural obstacles as if they were nothing. No walls, hedges, or even snow-covered thatched roofs hindered the path of these prints. It was as though something had passed through Devon, defying the laws of nature and mocking human understanding. The villagers were gripped by fear. Some claimed it was a demon, or perhaps even Satan himself, paying a visit to remind them of his presence. Priests were called to bless homes, while locals huddled around fires, hoping that warmth and prayer might keep the dark force at bay. Those who dared to follow the footprints were led through twisted paths, only to find themselves back where they started, as if the creature had moved in circles, toying with its pursuers. Sightings of strange, shadowy figures eyes watching from her window, disappearing only when she crossed herself and muttered a prayer. Tales like these fueled the belief that the devil's footprints were not just a physical presence, but a sign of something deeply sinister lurking just beyond sight. The phenomenon lasted for a single, harrowing night, the footprints stretching for miles before they abruptly vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. In the days that followed, the snow melted and the tracks faded into legend, yet the fear remained. People spoke of it in hushed tones, glancing over their shoulders, as if expecting the devil to return, his footprints renewed in fresh snow. To this day, no one has explained the devil's footprints. Were they a prank, a trick of nature, or something far darker, a message from the underworld itself? The villagers of Devon may never know, but one thing is certain. On cold, moonlit nights, when the winter's silence deepens, deep in the shadowed forests of Bear Creek, North Carolina, lies a patch of barren earth known as the Devil's Tramping Ground. This ominous circle, located near Harper's Crossroads, is a chilling 40-foot ring where no vegetation grows and no animal dares linger. Locals claim it's cursed, a place haunted by the devil himself, who treads this ground nightly in a sinister ritual. For centuries, stories have circulated about the eerie clearing. People say that when midnight falls, the devil rises from the underworld, pacing the circle with dark intent, plotting his next act of evil. His heavy, unseen footsteps scorch the earth, leaving it lifeless, unable to support even the smallest blade of grass. No matter how much time passes, or how often people try to replant it, nothing grows in the devil's circle. Brave souls who have attempted to camp within the ring tell of inexplicable occurrences. They report feelings of dread so intense, it's as if a dark presence stands beside them, watching. Items left inside the circle are mysteriously found outside by morning, as if some unseen force cast them aside, angry at their intrusion. Others claim to hear faint whispers in the night, growing louder until they're forced to flee, their minds unravelling from the chilling sensation of being stalked by something unseen. Locals warn that nothing stays in the devil's tramping ground without consequence. Those who have dared to linger too long, mocking the legend, have reported strange misfortunes afterward. Accidents, illnesses, and haunting nightmares of a dark figure pacing circles around them, his fiery eyes fixed upon their very soul. The devil's tramping ground remains, a barren, haunted scar in the woods of North Carolina. It is a place that repels life, an eternal reminder of an ancient evil lurking beneath the surface. And so, the warning endures. If you find yourself near Bear Creek, steer clear of the circle, for the devil still paces there, leaving his mark on the earth, and perhaps on any soul foolish enough to cross his path. Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Black Aggie, a haunting statue once feared for its supernatural powers. Relax, settle in, and let this eerie tale gently guide you to sleep. Black Aggie is an eerie urban legend centered around a mysterious statue that once stood at the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery, Pikesville, Maryland. The statue, a sombre figure draped in a cloak, resembled the well-known sculpture Grief by Augustus St. Gaudens. However, over time, Black Aggie became infamous for the supernatural surrounded it. According to local law, strange and unsettling events statue was placed in the cemetery. People claimed that Aggie's eyes would glow red at night, and that anyone who looked into them would be struck blind or cursed. Another part of the legend states that if someone sat on Aggie's lap at midnight, they would either die within a year or be haunted by the statue. It was also rumoured that the shadow of Black Aggie would cause nearby grass to wither and die. Due to the growing number of ghostly tales and instances of vandalism, Black Aggie became a focal point for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many visited the statue either to test the legend or to experience the supernatural aura that surrounded it. The stories grew, further embedding Black Aggie into Maryland's folklore. Eventually, the statue was removed from the cemetery in 1967 to put an end to the disturbances it caused. Though the statue itself is gone, the legend of Black Aggie continues to captivate in imaginations, with people still sharing stories of the haunted statue and the eerie events that took place in Druid Ridge Cemetery. On the windswept shores of Cape Henlopen State Park, where the Atlantic whispers ancient secrets to the rugged cliffs, there prowls an eerie phenomenon known as the corpse light. To the untrained eye, it might appear a beacon of safety, a lighthouse guiding weary travellers home. But to those familiar with its cursed history, it is a harbinger of doom, a deceptive glow that leads only to despair and death. The legend of the corpse light began in the fog-laden nights of the 18th century, a time when smugglers and pirates frequented these waters, weaving through the treacherous shoals and hidden reefs. It is said that one fateful night, a band of smugglers, heavy with illicit cargo, spied a light gleaming through the dense fog. Believing it to be the lighthouse, they steered their vessel towards it, hearts light with relief. But as they drew closer, the light mysteriously vanished, leaving them to the merciless embrace of the rocks. The ship was shattered, swallowed by the hungry sea, and all hands were lost to the depths. From that night on, the corpse light appeared sporadically, always to unsuspecting sailors, its ghostly glow a false promise of safety. Tales spread of a spectral lantern held aloft by a shadowy figure clad in the tattered remnants of colonial garb, doomed to forever reenact his treachery. Some whispered that he was the spirit of a lighthouse keeper who had conspired with pirates, others that he was a wronged sailor, seeking vengeance against those who sailed these cursed waters. Local folklore insists that to see the corpse light is an omen of impending disaster. Fishermen refuse to set sail if the light is seen, and sailors mutter prayers when passing the cape after dusk. It's not just the beacon that terrifies them, but the sudden cold that seeps into the bones at its sighting, and the inexplicable malaise that descends upon the beholder. On stormy nights, when the thunder rolls and lightning illuminates the sea, the corpse light dances across the waves, elusive and taunting. Some brave souls have tried to follow it, to uncover its origins or end its spectral wanderings, yet none have succeeded, and many have not returned, their fates whispered in hushed tones in the local taverns. The corpse light remains one of the most chilling legends of Cape Henlopen, a reminder of the sea's dark power to enchant and ensnare. it continues to haunt the coastline, a phantom lighthouse that guides not to safe harbour, but to a watery grave, its mournful light a testament to the souls it has claimed. Tonight we take a quiet journey into the eerie legend of the Chupacabra. Let the mystery of the goatsucker guide you into a peaceful slumber as we unravel this chilling tale. In the remote shadowed corners of the Americas, whispers carry a name, the Chupacabra. Born from terror and blood, this cryptid first slithered into legend on the stormy nights of Puerto Rico. Farmers would wake to a nightmare, their once lively goats drained of life, eyes glassy, throats pierced by two perfect holes. The blood was gone, as if sucked dry by some unholy predator. They say the name, Chupacabra, stems from its insidious habits. Chupa, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat, and so it was called the goatsucker, a beast with an insatiable thirst for blood. As dawn broke and bodies of livestock lay scattered, many wondered what kind of creature could commit such carnage. Described as reptilian or dog-like, the Chupacabra is said to move with an unnatural grace, its skin scaly, cold to the touch, with glowing red eyes that burn through the night like molten embers. It creeps silently through the fields, avoiding human eyes, until it strikes, leaving nothing but empty carcasses and fear in its wake. Reports of its presence spread beyond Puerto Rico, with sightings in Mexico, South America, and even the southern United States. In each case, the telltale signs were the same: drained livestock, puncture wounds, and an eerie, lingering silence that chilled the blood of those left behind. Some claimed to see it with their own eyes, a monstrous figure crouching low to the ground, waiting for the moment to pounce. Its movements were quick, almost too fast to follow, vanishing into the darkness as quickly as it appeared. Legends tell that the Chupacabra was a cursed experiment gone wrong, a mutated creature that escaped from the depths of a secret lab, its body forever twisted into something both alien and grotesque. Others believe it is something far older, a demonic force that has existed for centuries, waiting for the right moment to return and feast upon the world. To this day, people fear the shadow of the Chupacabra, dreading the eerie silence that falls over their farms at night. They lock their doors and guard their animals, praying that they will not be the next victims of the creature that stalks in the dark, thirsting for blood. As long as the Chupacabra remains a mystery, it will continue to haunt the imagination of those who dare to walk the lonely roads, wondering if tonight will be the night they hear the hiss of the goatsucker closing in.